Poor girl found drunk millionaire, CEO in the garbage and took him home. But what he did next surprised everyone. Under the relentless downpour of a Detroit midnight, the narrow alley behind the worn-down buildings of the South Side glistened with puddles and broken glass. Lana Bennett, a 25-year-old woman with tangled blonde hair and eyes the color of winter skies, pushed her rusted recycling cart through the slick back streets. Her faded hoodie clung to her rain-soaked frame, and every step in her threadbare canvas shoes made a soft squelch. The wheels of the cart creaked and skipped as it bumped over uneven concrete. She knew this alley by heart, had passed through it 100 times, collecting bottles, cans, and anything that could be turned into a meal, but tonight felt different. As she rounded the corner, the beam of a flickering street lamp caught something ahead. Lana jerked the handlebars to a stop so abruptly her bike nearly toppled. "Oh my God! Who's that?" she gasped. There, crumpled in a heap between torn garbage bags and soggy cardboard, lay a man. He was sprawled awkwardly on his side, rain soaking his clothes, his chest barely rising and falling. His tailored suit, though ripped and stained, screamed money. She couldn't see his face clearly, but what she did see made her pulse quicken. Lana hesitated. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stepped forward, one foot, then another. "Hey, sir, are you okay?" Her voice trembled as she knelt beside him. She reached out and gently touched his shoulder. "Can you hear me?" she asked louder, giving a light shake. The man groaned, but his eyes remained closed. He mumbled incoherently, something that sounded like another language, or maybe just drunken nonsense. A sharp scent hit her nose, and she pulled back slightly, wrinkling it. "Whiskey," she muttered. "Expensive whiskey." She hovered, unsure. Was this a trap? She had heard stories of women lured by the helpless act, only to be robbed or worse. Her eyes darted around the alley, nothing but shadows and the echo of distant music from a nearby bar. No one was watching. But then her gaze dropped again to the man's forehead, where blood, dark and sticky, was mixing with the rainwater and trickling down his temple. "He's bleeding." She looked closer. His face was handsome, bruised but refined. His jawline was strong, his lips slightly parted. Brown hair matted to his forehead, soaked through. His skin pale, too pale. "If I leave him here, and he dies," she whispered. The thought stabbed at her conscience. Her chest tightened. Her grandfather's voice echoed from memory. "Even in the mud, some lives are worth pulling out." She swallowed hard. "Damn it," she muttered, then pulled the cart closer. Grabbing the man under his arms, she heaved. He was heavier than he looked. Her back ached instantly, her wrists screamed in protest, but she refused to give up. Each tug sent shocks of pain through her muscles, her knees slipping on the wet pavement. "Just get him on. Just don't die on me," she breathed, half to him, half to herself. With one final grunt, she managed to haul him into the cart, laying him between bags of aluminum cans and plastic bottles. His head lolled to the side. She quickly removed her hoodie and balled it up beneath his head, shielding him from the metal frame. She stepped back, panting, soaked to the bone, watching the rain stream down his face. Then, her eyes caught something. The collar of his shirt had shifted. She bent down and gently pulled it aside. There, etched above his heart, was a tattoo, a detailed crest featuring a golden eagle and Latin words she couldn't read. It was clean, sharp, clearly professionally done. Not something a street drunk would have. A family seal? Corporate? Military? "What are you?" she asked, under her breath. But he gave no answer. The sound of thunder rolled across the sky as Lana climbed onto her bike and began to pedal. The cart wobbled, heavier than ever before. The man groaned with every bump in the road, but he did not wake. Water flew from the wheels as she pushed forward, her legs shaking from effort and fear. She didn't know who he was or what he had done, but she knew one thing: she couldn't let him die in the garbage, not tonight. Lana pushed the cart until her bike gave out just outside her shack, barely standing on the edge of Detroit's slums. Built from rotting planks and covered with a sagging blue tarp, it was all she had. Rain still whispered down, tapping against the plastic like a fading heartbeat. She unlatched the door and shoved it open. The air inside smelled of mildew and cold. Lighting a candle stub in the corner, she dragged the unconscious man from the cart onto her only mattress, a stained piece of foam on the floor. Kneeling beside him, her hands shaking, she peeled off his soaked shoes, then carefully removed his jacket and shirt. His forehead was crusted with dried blood. She wiped it gently with a damp cloth, biting her lip. That's when she noticed the watch. Gold, sleek, expensive. Its soft gleam caught in the candlelight. Even his torn suit screamed wealth, the stitching, the texture. He was no street drunk. Definitely came from money, she whispered. She covered him with her second blanket, thin, full of holes, and sat beside him, watching his shallow breaths until sleep stole over her, curled up on the cold floor nearby. By morning, the rain had stopped. Pale light filtered through the tarp roof. Lana stirred first, aching from the concrete. Her eyes snapped to him, still there but shifting slightly. His brow furrowed, lips twitched. Then his eyes opened. Where am I?" he rasped. Lana sat up. "You're safe," she said. "I found you unconscious in the rain. You're in my place." He tried to sit up but winced, gripping his head. I don't remember anything. Who am I?" "You don't even remember your name." He shook his head slowly. "Nothing. It's blank." Lana studied his face, searching for a clue, but saw only fear and confusion. "All right," she said softly. "Until you remember, I'll call you James. It's from a book I liked as a kid." He blinked, then nodded. "James? Okay. You're lucky to be alive. You had a bad cut on your head and you smelled like a bar floor." "I'm sorry," he muttered. "I don't know who I was, but maybe that's not a bad thing." Lana stretched. "Hungry? I think so." She moved to a small burner in the corner, cracked 2 eggs into a dented pan, and toasted dry bread over the flame. Minutes later, she handed him a chipped plate. James stared at the meal like it was a treasure. "You didn't have to help me. You didn't even know me." "I couldn't just leave you there," she said. He took a bite, closed his eyes. "Best thing I've ever eaten." "You must not get many home-cooked meals," she joked. He laughed quietly, then looked around. "This place, it's small, but peaceful." They ate in comfortable silence. Afterward, James slowly stood, still wincing. He hobbled toward the creaky door, jiggled the loose hinge. "This thing's falling apart," he said. "I know, meant to fix it." "Mind if I try?" "Be my guest," she said. He picked up a screwdriver from a crate, crouched down and went to work. His hands were steady despite the bruises. Within minutes, the door swung smoother than it had in years. "You fixed it?" Lana said, stunned. "Wasn't hard," he replied with a small smile. "Needed something to do." She stared at him. "Thank you," she whispered. He shrugged. "You saved my life. Fixing a door seems fair." And in that quiet moment, Lana didn't see a stranger from a world she'd never touch. She saw a man, kind, gentle, and quietly extraordinary. A week passed. James had stayed, and each day began the same. Early morning light peeking through the tarp-covered roof, the soft rustle of Lana moving around their tiny shack, and the scent of rain still lingering in the air. He never asked for more than what she gave him: food, shelter, and quiet company. In return, he offered what help he could. By the 3rd day, he insisted on going with her. "You saved me," he said. "Let me help now." And so they moved together each morning through the alleys of Detroit, pushing the old cart with its wobbly wheel and half-broken handle. James learned quickly how to separate the recyclables: aluminum cans here, plastic there, cardboard flattened neatly in piles. He got his hands dirty without complaint, even made jokes that, to his surprise, made Lana laugh, a real laugh, not the polite kind or the weary chuckle she gave strangers. "You're not half bad at this," she told him once, grinning as he struggled to balance a stack of bottles. "I should put it on my resume," he replied, mock serious. "Specialist in urban waste management. 5 stars." That afternoon, they took a break under the wide branches of an old maple tree near the edge of the scrapyard. Lana unpacked their modest lunch, a couple of hard-boiled eggs, a handful of crackers, and a bruised apple split between them. James bit into his half of the apple and leaned back against the tree, staring at the sky. "You ever think about what you'd be doing if life had turned out different?" she asked, peeling her egg slowly. James glanced at her, thoughtful. "I do, but it's all blank. Like there's a wall in my head, and behind it, shadows, shapes. I keep seeing glimpses of things. A boardroom, maybe, men in suits, papers on a table, arguments, pressure, but nothing clear." Lana nodded, then hesitated. "I used to want to be a fashion designer." "You?" James asked, surprised. She smirked. "Why not?" "No, I mean, yes, I can see it. You have that spark. I loved sketching dresses when I was a kid," she said softly. "Used to stay at the public library for hours, reading magazines I could never afford. But when my mom died, I had to take care of my little brother. School, dreams, all of that stopped." James watched her, something tender and admiring in his gaze. She wasn't just strong. She was full of dreams she had never stopped carrying, even if silently. "Your brother, where is he now?" "Foster care," she said quietly. "I couldn't keep up. He was just a kid. I still send letters, but I don't know if they reach him." They sat in silence for a while, the weight of unspoken things settling gently between them. James picked up a small piece of metal near his foot, an old, flat bottle cap twisted at the edge. He turned it in his fingers, an idea forming in his mind. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of orange and rose, James sat beside the cart. With a small nail and a rock, he carved slowly, carefully. When Lana came out to see what he was doing, he turned to her and smiled. "Look," he said, holding it up. She stepped closer. In the metal, scuffed but clearly etched, was a name. Lana. "For the cart," he said, "so no one forgets who really runs this operation." She stared at the little piece of metal, then at him. Her heart beat faster. No one had ever done something so small, so meaningless on the surface, but it meant the world. "Why would you do this?" she asked, voice quiet. He reached for her hand, gently curling his fingers around hers. His voice was steady, but soft, as if the words cost him something. "Because I do not know who I was," he said. "But I know one thing. I want to stay here. With you." She looked into his eyes, those striking blue eyes that no longer looked lost. They looked like they had found something. Their lips met in a kiss that was not perfect or practiced. It was hesitant, human, and real. The kind of kiss born not from romance, but recognition. James pulled away first, his forehead resting against hers. Lana closed her eyes. In that moment, under the dying light of day, surrounded by the quiet hum of their world, it felt like nothing else mattered. But deep inside, as James sat beside her, a faint throb returned behind his temples. Flashes again, sharp suits, a building lobby, a voice shouting numbers. He blinked them away, clinging to the warmth of her hand. Lana felt it too. Not the memory, but the fear. What if he remembered? What if everything, this life, this peace, this love, was just borrowed time? She did not let go of his hand. Not yet. Not tonight. Rain tapped gently against the blue tarp roof, a soft, steady rhythm in the silence of night. Wind slipped through the cracks of the wooden walls, making the candle flame on the shelf flicker faintly. Inside the tiny shack, Lana lay curled beneath a worn blanket, her breathing slow and even. Beside her, James lay still, eyes closed, but his mind was far from rest. He was dreaming. The images came in flashes. A glass table, voices raised. "You're gambling with everything we built, Ethan." A fist slammed down. The rush of anger, a door slamming, a bar, alcohol, footsteps behind him, a blow to the head. James woke with a sharp gasp, chest rising and falling rapidly. His forehead was slick with sweat. The dream wasn't a dream. It was memory. He sat up slowly and looked around. The shack, the shelves, the flickering candle, and Lana sleeping peacefully on the mattress. She had no idea her world was about to change. James, no. Ethan. His name was Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Enterprises, billionaire, and recently, missing. He pressed a hand to his temple. It all came back at once. Meetings, contracts, media flashes, pressure, so much pressure. Then Michael Reed, the betrayal, the fight, the attack, and now, this. He looked at Lana again, her face calm, lips slightly parted in sleep. She had saved him without asking anything in return. She gave him food, shelter, kindness. She had given him a reason to want to be better, and now he remembered everything. Ethan crossed the room quietly and sat at the crate that served as a table. He found a pencil stub and a scrap of notebook paper. With trembling hands, he wrote, "Lana, I remember now. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I'm the CEO of Caldwell Enterprises. I was attacked after an argument with someone I once trusted. I never meant to deceive you. When I woke up with nothing, you gave me everything. You reminded me how it feels to be truly seen. But I have to go back. There are people to face, things to make right. I don't know what's ahead, but one thing is certain. I love you. If you still believe in us, wait for me. I will return. James, Ethan." He folded the note and placed it beside her on the mattress. Then, quietly, he removed the gold watch from his wrist, the one piece of his old life he had never let go, and left it beside the letter. He stood there for a long time, watching her sleep, wanting to wake her, explain everything. But he knew it would only make leaving harder. And this was something he had to do. As the first light of dawn slipped through the cracks, Ethan stepped outside. The rain had stopped. The city beyond the slums was slowly waking. Without looking back, he walked away. Hours later, Lana stirred. Her hand reached beside her, searching for the familiar warmth. "James," she whispered, eyes still half closed. No answer. She sat up. Her heart sank the moment she saw the folded paper. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. Her eyes moved quickly down the page, once, then again, then a third time. By the end, tears blurred the words. He was someone else, a name, a power, a man from a world so far from hers, and he had left, just like that. She clutched the letter to her chest, sobbing, unsure what hurt more, the truth he had hidden or the love he had taken with him. 2 months had passed since the morning Lana woke to find Ethan gone. Days blurred together, pushing her cart, sorting through trash, scraping coins from bottles, falling asleep on the same thin mattress. Her face, once soft with quiet warmth, now carried a hardened stillness. She moved with purpose, but not with life. Her eyes no longer met others. Her voice had grown colder. She told herself it was better this way. He had never truly belonged to her. He was from a different world. But every night, she still dreamed of him. And every morning, she remembered he was gone. It was during one of her morning routes that she stopped outside a pawn shop. The old television in the window flickered with static. She almost kept walking, but then a name caught her ear. Ethan Caldwell has officially returned to the public eye following a 2-month medical leave. Sources confirm the CEO is leading a major restructuring of Caldwell Enterprises. Lana froze. The screen showed him, Ethan, wearing a tailored suit, hair slicked back, standing behind a podium with the company's logo. He looked confident, composed, like someone who had never stepped foot in her world. He had not lied to her, but he had never told her the truth. So it was all real. He was the Ethan Caldwell, a billionaire, and she had believed everything between them was genuine, that it had meant something. Now it all felt like a cruel experiment, an adventure for the rich, slum life and charity love, just long enough to feel something before returning to power. She turned away before the segment ended, her hands trembling. Meanwhile, in his towering office overlooking Detroit, Ethan sat staring through the glass. Meetings blurred together, contracts, lawsuits, reporters. His world was back, but it felt like a suit that no longer fit. He thought constantly of her, Lana. He had written the letter, left the watch. He meant every word, but fear held him back. Fear that she'd hate him for what he didn't say. Fear she wouldn't forgive him. Across the table, Michael Reed watched with quiet satisfaction. During Ethan's absence, Michael had shifted influence, wooed the board, and slowly angled for control. Now that Ethan was back, he worked subtly, persistently, to undermine him. "You seem distracted," Michael said one morning. "Sure you're ready to be back in charge?" "I'm exactly where I need to be," Ethan replied, though the words felt hollow. That night, alone in his penthouse, he made a decision. He had to see her. The next afternoon, a black town car pulled up near the edge of the slums. The streets hadn't changed, loud, cracked, real. He found her by the recycling depot, dragging a bag of cans to her cart. Her hair was pulled back in a braid. Her clothes were layered and worn, the same as always. But she stood straighter now, colder. "Lana," he said, stepping out of the car. She turned slowly. Her expression turned to stone. "I'm not buying anything," she said flatly. "I'm not selling," he said gently. "I came to offer you something, a job." She raised an eyebrow. "As an assistant," he added, "at Caldwell Enterprises." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, "Fine, I'll take it. But let's get this straight." He waited. "I'll do the job. I'll do it well. But this?" She gestured between them. "This is just business. Don't bring up the past." He nodded. Understood. Before she turned away, he called over a nearby boy and handed him a sealed envelope. "Please take this to the woman in that shack." The boy ran off. That evening, Lana returned home and found a small basket by the door. Inside, rice, fresh fruit, canned soup, a bar of chocolate, and a note. "For the hard days, from the man who owes you everything." Caldwell Enterprises stood like a monument of glass and steel in downtown Detroit, its lobby a polished expanse of marble, light fixtures, and soft echoes of leather shoes tapping across clean floors. Lana stepped through the revolving doors with her head held high, even though she felt out of place in her second-hand blouse and worn-out flats. Her first day as an administrative assistant was nothing short of overwhelming. But by the end of the first week, whispers were already circling about how fast she learned, how meticulously she organized the executive schedules, how her reports were always error-free. "She used to live in a shack," one assistant murmured behind a copy room door. "No way." But Lana ignored the murmurs. She worked with quiet efficiency, never speaking more than necessary, never lingering around Ethan unless it was strictly work. She addressed him as Mr. Caldwell, and he did the same, though every now and then their eyes would meet across the conference table, and something unspoken would pass between them. There's something unspoken would pass between them. Michael Reed noticed it too. He watched Ethan closely in meetings. He saw the flicker of hesitation when Lana spoke, the way Ethan's expression softened almost imperceptibly. It was a weakness, a dangerous one, and Michael had no intention of letting it ruin the power he had been building while Ethan was gone. At first, Michael tried subtle sabotage. He intercepted emails meant for Ethan. He accidentally reassigned Lana to tedious work. But nothing broke her. She kept delivering results, so he escalated. Michael had always been cunning. He approached one of the IT technicians and orchestrated a scheme, using Lana's workstation to send confidential project files to a rival company. He had someone plant the email, then falsify a trail showing communication between Lana and a competitor's executive. The pieces clicked together like clockwork. He just needed Ethan to believe it, or more accurately, he needed the board to believe it. By the end of the month, the pressure was mounting. Rumors of a leak within the company began to circulate. One morning, Ethan called Lana into his office. He looked tired, worn. There was a file on his desk with her name on it. "I need to ask you something," he said carefully. Lana nodded, bracing herself. "Have you been in contact with anyone from Redwell Industries?" "No," she answered instantly. "Why?" "Some emails surfaced this morning, from your account." She stared at him, heart pounding. "They're fake. I didn't send anything." He believed her. She could see it in his eyes. But outside the two of them, the walls were closing in. A few days later, a board meeting was called. Emergency. Ethan walked into the glass-walled room to find the full board present and Michael standing at the head with a smug smile. A large file rested on the table, marked Internal Security Breach, Evidence Packet. "We have a problem," Michael began. "A serious one." He presented the forged documents, the email logs, screenshots, and a timeline that made it all look devastatingly real. He spoke with poise, with the air of someone reluctantly forced to bring bad news. "Ms. Bennett," Michael said, "has been passing information to our competitors, and while I understand she had a previous relationship with Mr. Caldwell, we must consider whether this connection has compromised his judgment." Ethan stood abruptly. "This is a setup." Michael kept his cool. "That's for the board to decide." The vote was swift and brutal. Effective immediately, Ethan was asked to step aside during the investigation. Lana was to be dismissed, escorted from the premises. Security met her at her desk 10 minutes later. Lana did not cry. She packed her things in silence. As she passed through the marble lobby, the whispers returned, louder now. Scandal, betrayal, favoritism. She kept walking, eyes forward, chest tight. Outside the building, the gray sky threatened rain. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a single message. "I believe you, do not give up. We'll uncover the truth. E." She closed her eyes, let out a breath, and kept walking. The old warehouse sat like a skeleton on the outskirts of Detroit, its rusted frame groaning with every gust of wind. Broken windows stared out like hollow eyes, and the air inside was thick with dust and decay. Lana stepped through the side entrance just before dusk, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her face set in stone. She had received the call earlier that morning. "If you want your little friend to stay alive, bring the files," the voice had said. "Alone, no police." The voice didn't know that it was already too late. 2 days before, Lisa, an IT technician who had once worked closely with Michael, had reached out to Lana in secret. Lisa had always suspected Michael of foul play, but fear kept her quiet. Until now. "I saved a copy of the admin logs," she had whispered over coffee in a noisy diner. "Emails, access records, even an audio file." He bragged about what he did to Ethan. Lana had taken the files immediately and gone straight to the police. They promised to move quietly, to build a case, but when Lisa failed to show up for their next meeting, Lana knew Michael had found her. Now, standing inside the warehouse, Lana scanned the shadows until she saw them. Lisa was tied to a chair, a bruise forming beneath her eye. Michael stood nearby, in a pressed gray suit, looking oddly out of place in the rotting building. Beside him was a large man with thick arms and a cruel grin, one of Michael's security. "Didn't think you'd actually show," Michael said, smirking. "I want Lisa," Lana replied. "Let her go. Hand over the flash drive first." She pulled it from her pocket and held it up. "This is what you want, right? Everything you tried to bury." He took a step closer, eyes gleaming. "You're smarter than I thought. Too bad you got involved in something you couldn't control." As he reached for the drive, Lana's voice cut through the tension. "It's a copy." Michael froze. "The original is already with the police. They're on their way, right now." His face twisted. "You little—" He spun around, shouting at his henchmen. "Burn it all! Get rid of the backups, now!" But the screech of sirens cut through the air just as the man reached for the files. Red and blue lights flooded the broken windows. Police stormed in from every side, shouting commands. In the chaos, Michael tried to grab Lisa. Lana lunged forward, but before she could reach her, Michael pulled a small blade from his coat, wild with desperation. That was when Ethan appeared. He burst through the side door, eyes locked on Lana. He didn't hesitate. As Michael turned the blade toward her, Ethan stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body. The knife grazed his shoulder, tearing fabric and flesh. He stumbled but stayed upright. Officers tackled Michael to the ground. The henchman surrendered without a fight. Lisa was pulled safely from her chair, shaking but alive. Lana dropped to her knees beside Ethan. His face was pale, his hand clutching the wound, but he managed a small smile. "Still think I'm not good at showing up when it matters," he whispered. She let out a shaky laugh through her tears. "You're an idiot." "Yeah," he said, voice thin. "But I'm your idiot." Her hands pressed to his wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but her eyes searched his desperately. "Why would you do that?" Ethan reached up, his fingers brushing her cheek. "Because no matter who I was, or who I'll be, the only thing that hasn't changed is how I feel about you." His voice trembled, but the words were clear. "I love you, Lana." Tears spilled down her face. She leaned in and kissed him, soft, trembling, full of relief. Outside, as the police secured the area and Michael was loaded into a cruiser, the last rays of sunset poured through the broken roof. And inside, amid the ruins, something whole began to heal. The sun dipped low behind the skyscrapers of Detroit, casting long golden streaks across the rooftop of Caldwell Enterprises. A warm breeze danced across the terrace, tugging gently at Ethan's tie as he stood facing a sea of reporters and flashing cameras. It had been 1 week since Michael Reed's arrest, 1 week since the truth had come out. And today, Ethan Caldwell had been officially reinstated as CEO, but he was not here to reclaim the throne. "I want to thank everyone for their patience," he began, voice steady but calm. "It's been a challenging few months. We've uncovered deception, survived betrayal, and come out stronger." He paused, then glanced at Lana, who stood just beyond the crowd, watching with guarded eyes. "But today," he continued, "I'm not here to talk about quarterly reports or projections. I'm here to talk about purpose. Because success without humanity means nothing. I was once a man who had everything, yet I felt nothing." He took a breath. "Until a woman who had nothing gave me everything." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan let the silence settle. "She found me in the rain, broken and forgotten. She didn't know my name, and she didn't care. She cared that I was cold. She cared that I was bleeding. She saved me, not just my life, but my soul. That's the kind of leadership this company needs. That's the kind of love this world needs." He stepped back from the podium. "I'm stepping down as CEO of Caldwell Enterprises, effective immediately. I'll remain involved, but from now on this company will be guided by people who remember what it means to feel—" He left the stage before the murmurs turned to shouts. His path was already set. On the rooftop above, the light was softer, quieter. Lana waited by the edge, looking out over the city. She heard his footsteps behind her. He joined her silently, handing her a small box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a charm engraved in tiny cursive letters. "With you, always." She closed her fingers around it, lips trembling. "I'm sorry I left," Ethan said gently. "I was afraid. Not of losing you, of not deserving you." Lana's voice was a whisper. "You didn't have to be perfect, you just had to be honest." "I am now," he said, stepping close. "I love you. I've loved you in a shack, in a boardroom, in the silence between." He reached for her hand. "Do you still have enough courage to love me again?" Her eyes glistened. "I never stopped." She leaned into him and they embraced beneath the burning sky. Below them, a storefront sign flickered to life. "Second chances, books, dreams, and coffee." Lana's dream, brought to life, funded in secret by Ethan, and for the first time both of them were exactly where they belonged. As the screen faded to black, a single line appeared: "Love finds its way, even from the darkest alley." Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey of love, loss, and redemption. Poor girl found drunk, millionaire CEO, in the garbage and took him home. But what he did next surprised everyone, reminds us that even in the darkest corners of life, hope can bloom, and love can find a way. If this story touched your heart, made you feel something deep inside, or reminded you that everyone deserves a second chance, please consider subscribing to Soul-Stirring Stories. We bring you powerful, real, and fictional stories that heal, inspire, and stay with you long after they end. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with someone who still believes in the magic of love and compassion. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and keep believing in soul-stirring stories.